Some truths, once revealed, leave an indelible mark, altering the very fabric of one's understanding forever. Welcome to the Charon Files. The stories you are about to hear are testimonies from living witnesses of what moves beyond understanding, of what refuses to be explained. Each of them stood at the edge of what is known and looked into what lies beyond it. My name is Charon, Ferryman of the Dead, the one who waits at that edge. What follows is what they brought back. May they prepare you for your own future encounters.
This happened about 2 years ago, and I was so blown away. I took notes and told my wife about it, so I still have the notes on my phone. My 5-year-old son was pretty typical for his age. Always goofing around, never serious, always working some angle to negotiate treats, or buying whatever thing was at the top of his list this week. Kids have a selfish worldview, and that's mostly understandable, because they haven't matured yet. So when my son asked me to go for a walk, just the two of us, I immediately laughed and thought, okay, what's he gonna ask for? We start walking, and I ask, "What's on your mind, buddy?" He said, "Nothing really. I just want to have some time to be with you and be peaceful and be out in nature." Wow. Okay, this is progress, I thought. Then he said, "I want you to know you're the best dad I've ever had. You really do help me and my sister a lot, and you're really very nice, even though we don't usually tell you. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything, and that I want to be near you always." By this point, the only reason I wasn't completely crying my eyes out is that I thought it was some kind of a joke or lead up to ask for something. This was totally out of character, especially at this age. I managed to croak out something like, "I'm really glad to hear that, and I love you very much." Then we just enjoyed the rest of the walk. It really felt like for a moment I was speaking to a soul who has had several lives, "You're the best dad I've ever had," and wanted to speak directly to me, instead of play the role of a child. I'm so glad it happened, and it's something I will never forget. Later, he went right back to being the same old goofy kid that I love.
My dad died on July 6th, 2024. I've been thinking about him a lot lately, and wanted to share the story of his death. I'll start with the last 4 days of his life. One time each day, I would walk or look outside, and directly in my line of sight was a cardinal. My dad had dementia and didn't even know who I was the last year of his life, which is devastating, by the way, if you haven't experienced it. I think his soul was living in the veil between life and death for a long time, and as his body was dying, he was finally able to say hello. 10 minutes after his death, I walked outside. As soon as I did, a rainstorm started. Then there was one huge clap of thunder, and a single lightning strike across the sky. The rain ended a few minutes later. Ever heard that thunder is people partying in heaven? I think that Dad was being welcomed by his parents or brothers. A few minutes after the rain stopped, the hospice nurse arrived to declare his time of death. I went back outside and couldn't believe what happened next. A huge rainbow was stretching across over the house. No, wait, a full double. The colors were so vibrant, it was the most beautiful rainbow I have ever seen. The entire city could see it, literally, and I don't live in a small town. Pictures of it flooded social media. This thing was magical. My mom and I, their neighbors, the hospice nurse, and eventually the guy from the mortuary, we all stood there with smiles on our faces and tears in our eyes, watching this magnificent work of art in the sky. Surreal. I kept telling Dad he could go, to find his mom and dad and brothers. To go to the Rainbow Bridge to find all the pets throughout the years. We're big animal people. He made it. I truly believe he was telling me that he made it, that it does exist. And he was there. As his body was wheeled out of the house, the rainbow faded. The day we had his military honors service, I waited to visit his grave while the urn was buried. After my visit, I started my car and the exact lyrics pouring out of my speakers. "Oh, sweet child of mine." I laughed or cried, looked back at his grave and yelled, "That's you, isn't it?" I mean, of all the songs and lyrics and all the radio stations in the world, seriously? Random coincidences or messages from beyond? It is what you believe it is. My dad was stuck in a body with a dying brain for 4 years, and I think he had been chomping at the bit to provide comfort to me, his only child, his little girl, and he flooded me with signs. I love you, Dad. Goodbye for now.
My grandma's house has always, for as long as I can remember, been a scary place. My dad and aunt and uncle all grew up in the house and had paranormal experiences occur throughout their lives. One example was when my dad and uncle were teenagers. My uncle was walking down the steps and was swinging a towel as he had just washed his hair. Out of nowhere, my dad, who was standing in the living room at the bottom of the stairs, saw the towel straighten out in front of my uncle as if someone pulled it, and my uncle fell forcefully down the stairs. Now, my grandma hates all things paranormal, especially Ouija boards, and she would often visit gypsies, so it is a big no-no in our family to discuss the paranormal events that occur in her house. 20 years or so ago, my cousins and brothers were playing in the upstairs bedrooms of my grandparents' house. The toys were set up in the room across the hall from them, and they were all in the same bedroom playing a board game. Out of nowhere, a Hot Wheels car, no batteries, no wind-up, just an average Hot Wheels car, slowly exited the room that the toys were in, went across the hall and into the room where they were all sitting. Needless to say, they were all terrified. Around 8 years ago, my oldest brother moved into the basement of their house. One night when he was home alone, he woke up out of a deep sleep, having felt like he was shaken by someone. He stood up and instantly smelt gas. He went upstairs and outside of the house. Later he found out there was woken up, there's a big chance he could have died in his sleep. Months after that, when my grandparents were away for the weekend, the family decided to try the Ghost Radar app in their house. We all sat around the phone, and my uncle asked the normal questions. Is anyone here? And so on. Then he asked, who used to live in the basement? At this point, my brother had moved out. The Ghost Radar replied with my brother's full first name, which no one ever calls him. We were shocked. So my uncle asked, how did you save my brother? It replied with, wake. What the fuck? He then asked, what did you save him from? And it said gas. Bro. Needless to say, we were shocked. The last thing that happens in the house is my grandparents' friend's obituary, who passed away probably 15 years ago, will show up in their kitchen every month or so. They usually say hello to their friend and put the obituary back in the basement where it is supposed to stay, laughing out loud. A little while later, it will show back up in the kitchen.
These accounts reveal how the subtle manipulation of circumstances or objects, or the unexpected utterance of profound words, can momentarily alter the fabric of the familiar, leaving an indelible impression of an unseen agency. The names of the witnesses have been changed to maintain anonymity. If what you have heard tonight mirrors something you have experienced, leave your story in a comment below, and we will include it in a future episode. Don't forget to subscribe. You wouldn't want to miss